Good morning. Bloomberg has a feature from yesterday, 16 April. It involves how China's central bank is moving their currency, the RMB, down against the dollar. And they say here that they will manage it weaker through the daily reference rate, and it's just a 1% move down from where it is now. The Chinese yuan, or the RMB, does not float freely in the world markets. The Chinese central bank manages the exchange rate between the RMB and the US dollar in a band. And this chart here may be helpful. The white line, the PBOC is the People's Bank of China, and it's the rate to the US dollar that they kind of want. They want the price of the US dollar to cost 7.1 RMB, and they want a US buyer to get 7.1 RMB for his dollar. That's the white line. The blue line is the onshore yuan spot rate. Onshore is here in China. Offshore yuan is RMB in banks outside China, but onshore is here. So when I put my US bank card into an ATM here in China, I get out about 7.22 RMB to the dollar. When I do that, I'm on that blue line. When I use my ATM card in China, or anyone does, we are on the blue line. You can also see that there's a difference now between the white and the blue lines, but it's usually the same. The central bank is managing for 7.1 RMB to the dollar, but the market inside China is 7.22. So every day the PBOC stays at the white line, they're losing money inside China. Use me as an example here. When I go to the Bank of China ATM and withdraw 5,000 RMB, I'm withdrawing $692.50. That's spot at 722. But the 5,000 RMB that's coming out of the machine is costing the Chinese banking system $704. They're at 710. It's costing China banks $12, 12 USD, when I take out about $700. So when these bands, when the blue line and the white line spreads apart, the PBOC is going to officially reduce the value of the RMB too. That's what this Bloomberg article here is talking about, and how it affects people like me, and also how people like me affect them. Usually though, these stories miss something very important, which is that the Chinese RMB to the US dollar is not the Chinese government's main concern. It's the other currencies. A cheaper RMB means that things priced in US dollars cost less. For example, if the exchange rate is 5 to 1, 5 RMB to $1, something that costs 1,000 RMB here costs only $200 in the US. But at 7 RMB, the same product costs $142, which is much cheaper. So everything that is priced in dollars, you can buy more of it if the other currency is lower. And all the other countries know this too. Any country selling in the US market isn't just competing on the basis of quality and price, but also on currency. So if you're China, which other countries' currencies are you going up against? So here is Japan, the Japanese yen, falling. Every day the yen falls against the dollar, it makes Japanese imports cheaper, and that's a problem for China. The Korean won. Here's the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, and so other countries, the Mexican peso, any other country that is a major exporter to the United States, they are competing for US dollars just like Chinese companies are. And if those currencies get weaker against the US dollar, the prices of the products from those countries fall in American stores and to American buyers. So this is a major mandate for China's central bank, which is to keep the RMB in a managed band with the US dollar, while keeping an eye on what all the other competing currencies are doing too. When Japan, for example, cuts their interest rates below zero to keep the Japanese yen cheap, to help their export sector, that is not only intended to make Japanese products less expensive in the United States, but to make them less expensive than Chinese products in the United States. So here's a good question then. Who is making this extra money when exporting countries' currencies fall in value? When the yen falls against the dollar and Japanese products are less expensive in the United States, and when the Chinese central bank pushes down the value of their RMB to be competitive with Japan, and now Chinese products are less expensive in the United States, where does the money go? Because the prices aren't falling in the stores you're shopping in, right? Well, this is why Walmart and Amazon and Costco are some of the richest companies on earth. We're paying more for products that are costing them less. And it also explains why you don't see a lot of made in the USA stuff on the shelves in those stores anymore. Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Be good.
Store up for yourself treasure in heaven, for where your treasure is,